Hey everyone! So if you're new to my channel, then you probably don't know I'm an American living in France and I speak French fluently. I've been asked a lot to give tips on learning a language, and so today I thought I'd kind of do a fun video talking about 5 things that your language teacher tends to forget to tell you. Hopefully if you're going to be moving to a new country or studying abroad sometime soon, this video will be helpful. Number 1. Learning the alphabet in the language of your choice is really important. I have no idea why. I probably had 4 or 5 different French teachers before I moved to France over the years, and every single time they would just kind of skip over the alphabet, or we'd sing it once or twice and then they'd be like, you'll just pick that up quickly later. And when I got to France, I was able to have like miniature conversations about directions, global warming, people's appearances, all these themes that we'd been studying and studying and studying. And none of that was really important because I didn't have any friends yet. But it was pretty embarrassing when I couldn't even spell my last name when they were asking me to file paperwork. So if you're learning a foreign language, whether you're studying it and focusing on it in class or not, you really need to get the alphabet down. It's just, there's a reason they start off with that in elementary school. Number 2, it is virtually impossible to become bilingual in a classroom, which I know disappoints a lot of people. The exception to this is if you are doing an intense immersion program. Think of a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old needs to spend at least 30 hours a week speaking their target language, the language they're trying to learn, to be able to become fluent in that language. I mean, we all know 5-year-olds are just little sponges. They're at their language learning prime. So if it's going to take a 5-year-old 30 hours a week to learn a language, why would we assume that an adult can become fluent in a foreign language in 4 hours a week of classes? You're going to need to find some outside activities, find some things you love doing and that you enjoy, and go with that. Try and add extra hours, extracurricular activities of your chosen language, and it'll help a lot. 4 hours a week in a classroom is probably not going to cut it. Number 3. When traveling, no matter how much you studied your target language beforehand, you're still going to wish you studied more. I was a straight A student, especially in French. I loved learning French, and I thought I was on the ball when I got here. And no, that pretty little A meant diddly squat when I tried to tell the fella next door that I'd hurt my fingers. That's why I'd been screaming, but instead I told him that I'd gotten hurt while fingering myself. Not one of my finest moments. If you're a French student, by the way, never pronounce the T at the end of the word doigt. For finger. Just don't do it. Becomes a verb. Not good. Number 4, singing in your target language is really, really good for phonetics. Listening is excellent, but you really have to get out there and try and be actively pronouncing the words. And oftentimes if you're singing along with music, you can kind of follow the person's direction and you'll probably be closer to pronouncing it correctly. I personally recommend singing more adult appropriate songs, something that you'd actually listen to on the radio, just because it'll advance you much more quickly. Frère Jacques is great and everything, and everybody loves that song, but it's a children's song and it's simplified and is great for beginners. But if you're really trying to get over that beginner's gap and get into active fluency, you're going to be needing to be singing more complicated songs. 5. You're going to need to know the slang. Even if you don't use the slang, it's important to know that it's there and how it functions in the language, because even if your teacher never teaches you the word for boobs, doesn't mean you're not going to need to use that word eventually. It'll probably come up in conversation sometime, and you don't want to be that awkward person who's like, what are boobs? No. Learn the slang. Knowing the slang also prevents you from making lots of little mishaps and misunderstandings later on down the road, especially when you're at the parrot stage of learning a language where you're repeating everything. Your friends at university will think it's hilarious when you have all these cute little slip-ups, but when you swear at the old lady at church, she might not be as understanding. Hopefully you find this video helpful. These were just a few tricks and tips that helped me, and they were things that I realized after I had actually moved to France and was trying to converse fluently on a regular basis. I hope you're having a lovely week. Please subscribe for more videos, and I will chat with you all later. Ciao!